So just yesterday, some leaks dropped regarding The Boys Season 5, Episode 8, which is of course the series finale that will be airing Wednesday or tomorrow for those people who bought those special tickets for the day advance premiere at select movie theaters. And I'm not sure how accurate any of this is, though I do know that the leaks apparently came from a VFX artist who worked on the series and who apparently has leaked some solid information about other episodes. And I still think we've got to take these leaks with a few grains of salt, but they all sound quite interesting, if not terrifically disgusting. So I just wanted to do a quick reaction to them. The VFX artist apparently revealed that this episode will effectively show that there was a strategic reason for Eric Kripke, the showrunner, to have wasted so much time on repetitive dialogue scenes this season and to have included so little action. That reason being that he was saving the budget for use in this final episode, which takes the violence and spectacle and special effects to a level so extreme that it will definitely blow viewers' minds and might make some of them sick due to the overwhelmingly graphic nature of the gore and brutality, which I guess is kind of telegraphed with the episode's title, Blood and Bone, and with how Billy Butcher even quotes those words in the promotional material for this episode, repeating that statement that Homelander made to him in the premiere episode of Season 3, in which Homelander promised that he and Butcher might one day engage in that type of scorched earth epic final fight. Anyway, the first leak is that the episode opens on the boys crying at a new safe house or a motel after the unaliving of Frenchie, now that their old safe house was compromised in last episode after Homelander breached it and did unalive Frenchie inside. Nevertheless, they collectively resolved to stop Homelander once and for all in that same scene of which viewers saw a small part during the first trailer for this season. Second, the episode cuts to a press conference where Homelander, as President of the United States, announces himself as God to a sea of reporters, and when he can hear their heartbeats and tell that they're either disbelieving or scared of him, he snaps and unalives all of them. The leaker says specifically that there are scenes where he literally skins people alive and either lasers or tears open a pregnant reporter, paying off that scene from earlier in Season 5 where Homelander had that vision of Madeline Stillwell, who was telling him how to deal with people who did not believe in him as God. And that would fall in line with how Homelander's actor and other actors and other creatives from this show teased in advance of this season that Homelander has yet to carry out his worst action in the show. Third, though, the violence escalates when the military comes out to stop Homelander, resulting in a massive battle sequence where Homelander unleashes on the military and destroys the soldiers who come after him, taking out tanks and planes and people in a series of scenes fit for the movies. Fourth, O-Father and the Deep come to some sort of alliance based around their belief that Homelander has officially gone too crazy for even them to justify any longer, and that something must be done to stop him. And that kind of pays off the scene from last episode where O-Father was kind of expressing some doubts about unaliving people just because they did not believe that Homelander was God. But anyway, this leads to a scene where Homelander finds out about the conspiracy before it even gets off the ground and rips O-Father in half inside the White House, which Ashley sees, which leads her to flee in terror. And at the end of the episode, she may or may not end up living alone in hiding in France, which I think may pay off a scene from Season 4 wherein she and A-Train were talking about running away together and hiding there. And I do recall that that's where A-Train's family was hiding at the beginning of Season 5. But speaking of terror, the fifth leak is that Homelander at some point goes looking for the boys and ends up at one of their old hideouts and finds Butcher's dog, Terror, there. Terror displays no fear of Homelander and actually pees on him, which leads Homelander to laser Terror in half. Butcher later becomes aware of this and goes into full berserker rage, more determined than ever to end Homelander. The sixth leak is that Ryan has been hiding out in New Zealand after he disappeared on Butcher back in, I believe, episode 4. Ryan sees the chaos in America on the news and comes back to America to help stop Homelander also. The seventh leak is that the episode's final epic battle happens in and around the White House, evoking the major battle from near the end of the comics on which this show is based. It happens between the boys, the Gen V kids, Ryan, and Homelander. The eighth leak is that Starlight fights and unalives the Deep in the wild conflict, possibly by flying with him and ultimately throwing him into the sea, where all nearby marine life unalives him for entering the water, like they said they would in last episode. And that would comport with statements made by the Deep's actor Chase Crawford, who has said that the Deep's ultimate fate brings him full circle from where he started in the first episode of season 1. The ninth leak is that Huey releases the virus and severely weakens Homelander, like what happened to Soldier Boy back at the end of episode 2 of this season, possibly also removing Homelander's powers. Kimiko then emits a tremendous energy blast from her chest like Soldier Boy's, which knocks everyone down and removes everyone's powers except Ryan's and Marie's. Homelander, being a pure and normal human for the first time, actually breaks down helplessly and cries. Butcher, however, brutally beats on him and ultimately unalives him with his signature crowbar. The 10th and final leak is that the show ends after the horrific violence with a peaceful, sentimental, somewhat bittersweet montage. Stan Edgar naturally manages to escape his imprisonment and starts scheming to rebuild his power, Gus Fring style, though Vought as a company and brand are destroyed. Butcher lives alone in Hawaii and finally starts to get a little of the peace that he's been missing for his whole life. Annie, who just wants to have anonymity after everything that's happened to her, starts over in Mexico with Huey, and you can practically already hear that theme for the boys Mexico as it plays in the background. Kimiko becomes something of a mother figure to Ryan, who along with Marie is one of very few good soups who continue to fight the good fight just because it's the good fight, not for self-serving reasons and not for corporate interests. Finally, there's a tease, possibly post-credits, that Soldier Boy might return, naturally setting up either Vought Rising episodes set in the future, or the Boys Mexico episodes, or alternative spin-off content. And if these leaks are accurate, then they would definitely leave me with some mixed feelings for 3 reasons. First, it does sound like this would be a relatively amazing episode and probably the best of this season, though unfortunately that would not be saying much given that this season has not had any truly good episodes since episode 1, which itself was nowhere near the quality that this show was producing at its best in season 1. Second, if the rumor is true about how Eric Kripke specifically went cheapskate on all the other episodes so that he could specifically save the budget for this one, it would definitely have been a bold gamble on his part, but one that probably will make for a fantastic viewing experience. Unfortunately, it still would not save either this season or the legacy of this show at this point. Every episode of this season, save episode 1, have been ill-conceived, poorly written, and generally underwhelmingly disappointing. Eric Kripke promised that this season would be, and heavily promoted this season as, the boys' version of the apocalypse, and instead his team has delivered basically a CW or ABC dramedy, but just with an uptick in foul language, blood, and substances. About half of this season was wasted on setting up the Vought Rising spin-off show at the expense of fittingly paying off the arcs of the main characters. Major seasons-long antagonists and protagonists and plot lines have been killed off or otherwise paid off in this season in absolutely disappointing, stupid, and silly ways. The pacing has been all over the place. And on the one hand, I would agree that that's not so much a matter of budget mismanagement as it is of bad writing. I mean, after all, this man, Eric Kripke, once did another show, Supernatural, that did a much better job of executing a season 5 apocalypse story with a much smaller network television budget on the CW. So it's clearly possible to do a capable apocalypse story with a small budget. But on the other hand, if saving the budget is the price, no pun intended, for the final season of an 8-episode limited streaming series like The Boys to deliver one very good episode full of strong special effects at the end, one very good episode at the beginning, and 6 dog water episodes in between, then I remain totally unsure about whether the exchange is worthwhile. Third, this finale, as described by the leaks, still would not be perfect despite everything, despite the alleged budget sacrifices. Thankfully, it does not sound as rushed as I was concerned it might be, but I'm still not sure that it properly pays off the storylines for all the characters involved. Butcher, for example. Yeah, just after everything he's done, I don't see any satisfying finale that does not involve his being unalived, probably in mutual combat with Homelander. And I think the most satisfying way for it to happen, though, would be for Huey to do it, putting him down like an animal at the end of the story. As for Ryan, I think that if Butcher were still alive, the most satisfying end to Ryan's story would be Ryan's making up with Butcher and perhaps continuing on as a surrogate son to Butcher. If not that, then I think the best way to end things with Ryan would be to maybe have Huey and Annie take him in like surrogate parents, bookending those season 3 and season 4 teases about the possibility of their becoming parents. And I do recall that one very early leak indeed promised that that was where Ryan's story would end, with Huey and Annie's raising him in a basically peaceful environment, finally giving him some of the real world stability that he's never had before. I also think there should be a bit more of a final resolution to Soulja Boy's story, particularly revolving around him and MM. And those are just a few of the storylines that I do not think would be properly serviced by this type of ending, the type that was in the leaks. But anyway, that's enough from me. I just wanted to do a reaction to those leaks, and I can definitely talk more about all this if they turn out to be true. Definitely sound off in the comments below to let me know what you think. And once you're done, don't forget to like and follow for more.